Hello, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Technically, not the New Year yet.
It's not the New Year when you're listening to this, but it will be in a few days.
Yes.
So
But we just wanted to get in there.
we wanted to be, ahead of the curveball.
Proactive.
Is that the phrase?
Head of the curve.
Head of the curve. And wish you all a very happy New Year ahead of 2024.
Gosh.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Saying 2024 just makes me feel a bit like...
Really?
That just doesn't feel... I'm just like, how... In my mind, 2012 was last year.
Yeah. 2012.
I don't know. I just feel like 2012 is really locked in my brain. It
is weird how certain years do that, actually.
I think it was because... Do you remember when it was 2012 is the year the world's going to end?
Yeah.
But London Olympics.
I think what you're...
Great iconic moments.
You're good at actually remembering... I can remember the years of my life, but I don't know what years each one was.
The actual date.
Yeah, if you said, 2018, what were you doing? It would take me really long time to work out how old, what I was doing.
Yeah. I feel like I am quite good at that.
Yeah.
But I think it's just because I've almost pinned significant moments to the years, so then it's quite easy for me to go back. So as soon as I know, okay, we moved to Birmingham in 2017, right, I can kind of go from that point.
That's good to know. But I think, we were saying earlier, guys, do you have years that are the glory years,
the standout years,
the glory days, or do you just have a year that immediately comes to mind as that was just amazing? Because I think I do. I was saying to someone the other day, I think what helps me determine whether it was a good year is often the summer.
Yeah.
It's basically whether I loved the summer or not.
But I think that's kind of a thing we can't really do anymore. Because
I know.
Summers aren't the same as when you're at school or uni.
And was it your first year of fully working through it?
Because last year we both had a break in our contract. So
same. This was my first year at the age of 24 of working fully through a summer, even though, in the grand scheme of things, I think it was quite a chill summer, but it really does change it.
Well, it's not this whole thing of, 3 months off, what we're going to do, we're going to go here, there. It's got a bank holiday. It's a bank holiday.
Yay.
Or you might go on a summer break.
Days.
But it's just, it's not the same as those uni summers. And that's, I think, what you're talking about when you're saying, that's where I would distinguish whether it was a good year. Because you'd have this big summer.
And it was just amazing.
I know. Oh, gosh, take me back.
Yeah, I think there's just something, even if you book, let's say you manage to book 3 weeks off work, it's just, there's something about the uni summer or the long summer of knowing that there's just endless freedom until September that is just, it hits different. Let's put it like that.
No more. Unless you become a teacher, you can get a little
True.
6 week break.
That is honestly what is tempting about becoming a teacher.
There's not much more. I work in schools and I'm just flip, you guys work so hard.
Yeah.
It's you get a 6 week holiday, but the rest of the time it
is a lot.
Head down.
It's a big job.
Just get through the term.
Shout out to all the teachers.
Shout out to all those teachers.
My mama.
Yeah, Rachel's mum's a teacher. I think that, teachers don't get enough credit.
No, they don't. And that's why today...
They are incredible.
We'd like to
it's not just you.
All the teachers in the UK.
No, how have we got to that?
No, I don't know.
Anyway, New Year's special.
Come on.
The dishwasher's just draining, so...
I don't think that's
fun.
That.
We are going to chat. We've not actually come up with an It's Not Just You title.
We haven't.
It's not just you.
Who?
That's heading into 2024, not knowing what life's going to look like, and you're stressed and you're worried and you don't know.
Yeah. Do you know what? I don't think we need to title this one per se. It's basically just going to be a New Year's reflection, chatting about 2023, how we found the year, what lies ahead for us in 2024. I feel like these kind of episodes, even when we used to have our YouTube channel, if I'm going to rewatch any kind of video, it's an episode or a video like this, because I am genuinely intrigued each year, what I was feeling at the end of the last year.
It's kind of like reading back through your diary.
Yeah.
Slightly more filtered, but
Yeah.
It's a
just
good
interesting
marker moment to be able to look back on. So this is more just for us.
It's a reflection, guys.
It's for our benefit.
And we'd like to invite you into it and encourage you to reflect as well.
Yes.
It is good to reflect, I think.
We're going to be
take stock.
Looking back and looking forward.
But also, that said, I think sometimes as well, similarly to, I guess, what we were chatting about with Christmas, New Year's, just New Year's as a concept actually can just be quite pressurizing in the same way. Do you know what I mean?
And
the actual New Year's Eve.
I don't think I've ever had a New Year's that has lived up to the expectation that I put on it.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever have.
Yeah, it's like what we were talking about earlier, expectation versus reality.
Often enjoyed them. Some of them I haven't. Some of them haven't been good, but some of them I think, yeah, they've been really nice. But I just think it can get totally overhyped.
Yeah, I think, and do you know what? I think that's actually a universe. I think everyone can kind of agree. New Year's Eve. Lots of people just outright hate New Year's Eve because of
and
the
just
pressure.
don't do anything. So
I think you've just got to spend it how you want to spend it.
I know, but even then I'm like, I don't know how I want to spend it.
Yeah, true.
And I want to spend it like this, but then my friends don't. So then how's that working out?
My own. Do I want to be on my own? Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, let's get into it.
Let's get into it, guys. We came across a post which had some helpful New Year's reflections. It's by an account called Circularity Community.
Oh, brilliant.
And it's called The End of Year Check-In.
We're about to be a part of the community.
And there are 6 questions here. So, you know, if you want to join along with us and answer these, go for it. So 6 questions for your end of year check-in. Number 1, what's something you're proud you accomplished? Number 2, what have you overcome this year? Number 3, what was an unexpected joy this past year? Number 4, what did you learn about yourself this year? Number 5, what do you need to let go of in the new year? And number 6, what do you need to create more space for?
Boom.
Boom.
Right. Where are we beginning?
Let's begin with something that you're proud you accomplished. So I'm just going to expand this question a little bit more to include like highlights, best moments. Yeah.
Well, when you first said the question and mentioned something that I'm proud of, the first thing that came to mind for me was the It's Not Just You podcast.
Come on.
Which launched in 2023.
To be fair, 2023 was a big year in terms of that, guys.
Yeah, so I'd say that's something I'm very proud of us doing this year.
It took a while to get to that point, I think.
Yeah.
A few years.
But honestly, even if you'd have told me in January of this year, you're going to have set up this podcast, be in a rhythm of uploading consistently, feel confident about the content that you're putting out, I would have found that so encouraging, because I think in January, at the start of this year, when we were still doing YouTube, we were still very much working out what we were doing, how we were using the kind of platforms that we had or things that we'd already set up. I think I just would have found that really encouraging, because that's ultimately what we wanted to do this year.
Yeah. And also, I think just even when we would kind of be like, oh, can you imagine if we did a podcast one day?
Yeah.
Like, you know,
and now we're doing it.
You actually just generally have those moments in life, guys, of like, I feel like you've got to remember almost where you would have said things or dreamed of things or been like, oh, imagine if I, you know, one day had a house. And then like you've got it and you've got to be like, oh, like we would kind of dream of like having a podcast. So yeah, that is actually wild that it started.
Yeah, that's it. I think it's so, and that's why, like you were saying at the start of this, it is actually good to reflect.
Yeah.
Because I think you can just so easily move from one thing to the next that you don't take a moment to go, oh yeah, there was actually a point where this thing didn't exist and it was just an idea.
It becomes so normal. I'm like, oh, I can't even, like, actually when I think about it, for the first 6 months of this year, we didn't have a podcast. We started it in July.
Yeah.
And like January, February, March, it was all quite difficult trying to work out what we were doing and whether we were doing the YouTube. And we literally ended the year like in this fully different rhythm to how we started
I know. But we weren't, and even with doing the YouTube stuff, even just the thing I'm proud of as well within that is just keeping going with it.
Yeah.
And just even once we started the podcast, I think we've only had kind of 1 week where we haven't uploaded.
Yeah.
So just even the consistency of, right, we're going to commit to this.
Yes.
We're going to do it. We're going to
do these
put in the
days a
work.
week.
And yeah, I just feel like it's paid off, really.
Yeah.
Well done us.
Well done us.
So that is something I'm proud of.
Yeah, I would say the same. I think that's been the biggest, achievement or something that I'd be proud of. I would say overall, guys, I mean, almost just to preface this episode, overall, my reflections personally on 2023 would be that it's been a bit of like a mid-year. Like we were saying, you know, when you have those glory years of, oh, I absolutely loved that year, or the opposite of, oh, that was an awful year. For me, this year has been just somewhere in between.
Yeah.
So it's like, even when I'm trying to think of, these, you know, mountaintop moments of what was really great, where did I feel proud? Like, I would say other than the podcast, like, it's just been quite, what's the word? Just like plateauy.
Yeah.
Like, there's not been really low lows or really high highs for me. Like, there's been amazing moments, there's been hard moments, but overall, it's just felt like a bit of a get your head down, get on with life vibe.
I agree. I think I feel quite similar. But then you were saying earlier about this whole 7-year itch thing.
Yeah. So, because Soph was saying, I think that, not that life feels like boring, but just kind of when you get into the routines and you're like, I guess even like we're saying with summer was a bit more, we've got to work. Like, you're not kind of doing these massive, exciting things. You can feel a bit like, like, how am I ready for a change? And then, like, I was talking with a friend the other day and she was saying there's this concept of like the 7-year itch of like whether you apply it to like being in a job or being in a relationship or being in a, like, living in a certain space where sometimes maybe it's just, I don't know, for younger people, but like you develop a bit of an itch of like, I'm ready for something new.
Yeah, and we've been in Birmingham now for pretty much 7 years.
Yeah.
So feeling a bit itchy.
Yeah, but do you actually feel like that means, I
don't feel like, for me, it feels, that makes me feel like I want to leave Birmingham, because I guess that's the thing that has been consistent for 7 years, being here, because whilst we've been here, lots of stuff has changed, work's changed. It's not like I've been in the same job for 7 years or been in a same relationship for 7 years, whatever the other things are that you could apply the 7-year itch thing to. So it would be Birmingham, but I don't necessarily feel like I want to leave Birmingham. But I just feel a bit like, yeah, everything's fine. Bit 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
Like you say, I think there were some really nice things that both of us did together and on our own this year. But yeah, I guess maybe not to the point of, oh my gosh, wasn't that just, that was the best time. And oh my gosh, I'm going to look back on that for years to come as such a fond memory. It's just kind of like, oh yeah, it was nice.
But like, I think like you kind of subconsciously then view that as a negative thing.
Yeah.
But I actually don't think it is, in terms of, I was just thinking then, if you think across the actual lifespan of your life, bearing in mind we've been alive for 24 years, and probably in these first 24 years is almost like some of the most change that happens in your life, of like school and uni and work. We're probably just now experiencing a bit more of like the being a bit more settled. Because like, think of like the ages between 50 and 74, like 24 years. Like, it's not going to look necessarily...
You've not gone from being a baby to a full-on adult with a job.
Yeah.
It is just a weird, or like 45 to 60.
Like, things just get a little bit more like settled down, or and that is so true, actually. Just even from like 0 to 24, we've grown into humans, like adults. So we've changed loads. Yeah.
And I guess in some ways you kind of think, because that's all you've known, you probably just think that's just how life is.
Yeah.
This constant, and you are, I guess, constantly evolving and changing, but not in the same way as you are from 0 to 24.
Yeah.
So the next 24 years will probably be, I'm sure there will be change, but it's not going to be to that same extent.
And everyone's life looks different. But I guess what we're saying is you become a bit more just established in kind of who you are and what you're doing. And with that I don't know.
So we're probably just getting used to that. Ignore us. Ignore us.
Ignore us, guys. Some absolute tangents there. But yeah, I would agree. The thing that I'm most proud of is our pod.
Yeah.
And other highlights would just include, I think, the few little like trips I've done. But why is it always like trips as well? Because we did this like as a team the other day, like a highlight of 2024, and everyone's highlight was like a trip away. And I was just thinking like...
Because life is horrible. No,
I don't know. Like I also have had highlights just in there every day.
I think it's more because when you get put on the spot to answer a question, it's an easy thing that comes to your mind. Like, oh yeah, I went there. Okay, let's say that. When actually it could have been, oh, just had this really nice day with mates. They came around for dinner, but you maybe not marked it in your mind as that day is something that I'll recall and share with other people when I get asked what was my favourite moment of the year. I think it's just an easy thing for people to go to, isn't it? It's like a highlight.
Yeah. Okay, what have you overcome this year? So I guess what's been more challenging?
Have you got one?
What have I overcome? I think as I said, it's been a bit of a mid-year. I've had other years that have been like worse with more obvious things to overcome. I think for me, a big thing has just been thinking about the future. I actually would say that's been a theme for me this year. I remember even going into the start of 2023, I was like, I think this past year has been a year of feeling a bit unsettled, or a bit like Soph was just saying, a bit like itchy, and knowing that for me does actually mean change, and it means something new coming, and what does that look like? And I would say like a lot of this year in terms of where I've like struggled has almost been like coming to terms with that and trying to work out what that change actually looks like. Like, does it look like moving? Does it look like a change in job? Does it look like doing something different? And in the end, I concluded yes, but I think that was quite like a hard process of trying to work out. I think just when you've been established somewhere for a while, like we have, like I've lived in Birmingham for 7 years, any kind of change that involves like, so I'm like moving away for 6 months and then we'll be coming back like in 2024. And yeah, it's just quite scary. Like, it's just scary to change up what you're doing, take a risk. And I think even where I've known that I've wanted to do that for a while, I guess 2023 was the year that I've made that decision and I've backed it. And I've kind of, been scared, but still chosen to just push through and do it. So I guess for me, that creates kind of a big year for 2024 where that change is going to be like enacted, I guess. But 2023 has looked like a lot of like hard decision making. So yeah, I've overcome it.
Wow.
Oh, ha ha. Whoa.
Gosh, yeah. Again, it is just crazy to think back conversations that we were having or you were having with other people at the start of this year to then where you're at now and what's going to happen next year. Kind of crazy.
It's kind of crazy, man.
I'm trying to think for me. I think for me, there's definitely been insecurities or things that I know last year I was struggling with more that don't feel as big anymore. Maybe
Come on.
They're still there slightly, but definitely don't feel as overwhelming, or they won't come into my mind as frequently. I think even when I think back to the start of last year with our friendship, I think I was still finding it quite hard. The fact that we weren't living together, our lives were separating more. We were probably still establishing a bit of a routine, even with working together, how that, kind of worked between us and what that looked like. And I just feel quite settled in all of those things now in a way that I don't think I did at the start of this year. And not to say that those things still don't come up or it still feels like an insecurity at points, but I definitely feel like over the course of this year, just settled more into changes that maybe happened at the start of last year or even at the end of like 2022 that were kind of felt big. But now I guess you just get used to it and you find new rhythms and work out ways around it or ways to overcome it.
Yeah. And I do think that's where, like, if you could tell yourself that at the start of 2023, oh, you will feel really different in some of these areas that at the time seemed so overwhelming, it would just be so encouraging to hear. And I think that is the thing sometimes where your mind is totally overwhelmed with, I mean, like so saying insecurity or thoughts or fears, and it genuinely seems like it's never going to get better. It is, again, I think just really important to like take a moment and be like, back then, I genuinely thought nothing could change to make this situation better. And now I feel completely different and I'm used to it and I have adapted and learned how to like cope. Because you know where things do just seem like overwhelming.
Yeah, or even in the midst of it, you know, it might be a new insecurity or something that you then have to face in the future. Being able to tell yourself, no, you're gonna be able to look back on this insecurity or fear in the future, and it's not gonna be as overwhelming or daunting in the same way, you know, in 6 months, a year. Do you know what I mean? Actually, and knowing I've done it before, I've come through things, I've worked through them and come out the other side, and almost just trying to remember that for the future, so that when you're in that moment of insecurity, you can go, I know I'm not going to be in this place forever.
Yeah.
I think that's actually important as well.
Come on.
Okay.
Big lessons, big growth in 2023, people. Okay, next question is, what was an unexpected joy this past year? So why don't you kick us off?
Okay. I would say for me, an unexpected joy was moving in with the family that I live with now, which happened at the end of August. But if you didn't know, I live with a family. They have 3 kids and I live in their loft.
Making it sound like it's legit, like
I'm like Harry Potter under the stairs or something. No, it's honestly the best room I've ever had.
It's amazing. High ceilings,
and yeah, it's just great. If again looking back at the start of this year, I didn't know that was coming, and so I've lived there for.
Where were you living at the start of this year? Oh yeah,
in 1, 2, 3. Oh my gosh! So I've lived in 3 houses this year.
Oh gosh.
Oh my gosh,
Wait,
I just realised that. Yeah, I've lived in 3 different houses this year.
Wow.
So I definitely wouldn't have expected it because I had a whole nother house that I lived in between then. So yeah, it was an unexpected joy for me to move in with them and wouldn't have seen it coming in January 2023.
That's beautiful.
What about you?
There's been many unexpected joys. I think.
Any particular one?
This flat is really lovely.
Yeah.
Guys, I am ending this year with a boyfriend. Wow.
Who would have seen that coming?
That has been an unexpected joy for sure. Didn't expect that, but here we are.
Here we are. 2023 still.
To be honest, like genuinely, if you'd told me it, I think particularly like I've said in the context of me moving away next year for a little while, if you had told me like, oh, that will happen and you will have a boyfriend, I would have been like, no, absolutely not. So yeah, an unexpected plot twist.
It really was as well.
I know. And I feel like, I mean, it's been, yeah. Well, I was going to say, like, we've referenced it in other podcasts, particularly like where we've been doing podcasts on like relationships or dating, but just wasn't really the time yet.
But it's not been that whole time. As in we've filmed...
No, it's not been the whole year, but as in like...
No, that's what I mean in terms of there's been points where we've been talking about relationships and you were single. It's not like you were lying the whole time.
No. But I feel like there's been times where we've like gone...
More recently.
I would have spoken about it, but yeah.
Yeah, lots of things having to be cut out of episodes, guys.
Let's just put it like that. But yeah.
You chose today to make it the big announcement.
I mean, it's not a big announcement. It's just an unexpected joy of 2023.
But you heard it here first, guys. Rach Wilson is off the market.
Okay, so thank you. Right, next question. What did you learn about yourself this year?
What did I learn about myself? What did you learn about yourself?
Oh, guys, these are actually quite hard questions.
I know. This is quite weirdly, well, not weirdly niche, I was going to say, but I don't know. I'll just say it and then you can decide what it is. I feel like this year I've been reflecting on the fact that I think I can often compromise quite a lot when it comes to giving my opinion or not giving my opinion necessarily in like big moments like at work necessarily, but more just in the little everyday things. I think often because I can be quite laid back, but then I think there are times then when I feel like I don't kind of share fully who I am or what I'm thinking or the parts of me that actually would have an opinion on something. But I think sometimes it's genuinely because I don't mind. But then I think the thing I've realised this year is that actually I think sometimes I'm trying to protect this image of myself that's quite just,
the laid back.
Oh, I'm easygoing and I don't care. But actually I'm just not showing parts of my personality. It's really hard to describe.
Interesting.
Basically where I think
That's
sometimes, you know, someone be like, oh, I love this song.
Yeah.
And they kind of don't really care about if anyone else would like it. They're like, I'm going to put it on because it's the song I like. I think sometimes I'm kind of like, oh, I would withhold that because I'd be more worried about people not liking it or people.
Really?
I don't know. That's just like a random example.
Quite the opposite. Like I can imagine you being like, I'm going to put on this song because I like it.
It depends, but it depends what kind of context. And also I think where I know that it basically depends if I think something would be well received or not, or like cool, or if I think, oh, that's actually quite weird, then I probably wouldn't say it, or I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I would withhold it. So I think that's what I'm talking about, kind of compromising, where I know people that are just through and through like, this is what I like, this is who I am. If you don't like me, then I'm not going to change that. Yeah. Whereas I actually think sometimes I can be a little bit of, I'll show that part of my personality because I know that it's palatable for these people. And then I don't know, actually, I think,
well, yeah, I guess it's almost just encompassed in being a chilled person in terms of you.
I don't know if any of that stuff made sense.
Yeah, no, it did.
Okay.
And I think like you say, it comes into that part of being chilled where it's like, is it worth me, like you say, asserting my opinion here or saying, oh, I like this, or can we do this? And where you probably, like where other people do because, you know, they're just more opinionated or like strong-willed in that sense, you would probably be more like, I don't really care that much. But then actually, like you say, it's like, then like you actually come across as or like having different opinions or views to maybe what you actually do. Yeah.
But I think even just sometimes there's parts of my personality that, I don't know, I can feel like shy to like show people in a moment, or
like
actually
what?
I think I'm quite good at just adapting to situations that I'm in. So I don't always even realise that I'm doing it.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. That's interesting. Yeah, I think for me, this is just like a random one, but I think I'm actually learning, probably more recently, like I'm less disciplined than I actually think I am in terms of I can be disciplined and I am like quite highly driven, so in that sense I can motivate myself to do things that need to be done. But when it comes to things that don't need to be done but I want to be disciplined about them, I actually find it really hard to be disciplined. So like one example would be like running. I really want to be disciplined with running. Like I want to run regularly and I go through patches of doing it, and then patches where I just don't. And I just find it really hard in those moments to be like, get up and go for a run. But I don't know, it's just been an interesting realisation of like, I've always thought of myself as being really disciplined, but I've realised that's actually only with things that have to be done.
Do you think it's where there's the level of accountability in someone else's opinion or someone else's kind of overlooking it?
Not even that. I genuinely think I know in my, like as an individual, I'm driven in terms of even with work and stuff, it's more like the deadlines I set in my head and the standard I set in my head rather than anyone putting it on me. But
I more mean with something like running, it's literally just affects you.
Yeah.
Like if you don't go for a run, or if you say, oh, I'm gonna stick to this plan of doing whatever I want to do, and then I don't fulfill it, it's literally just you that's affected. Whereas at work, there's other people relying on you. There's other people that will have an expectation of you.
Even in my role, like it's not actually that much of a team kind of role. Like it doesn't really affect other people, but it's just the kind of like, I guess the boundaries I've set in my head of like, well, work is like has to be done, running doesn't have to be done. And like you say, there's no one to say, why didn't you go on a run?
Yeah.
Like, so anyways,
Interesting.
Okay. What do you need to let go of in the new year? And we could kind of combine these into one. What do you need to let go of, like going into 2024? And what do you need to create more space for?
Letting go of toxic people. I'm joking. Letting go of... What do I want to let go of? I don't know.
I mean, I am on a constant journey of letting go of what other people think, 100%. But that's just quite general and broad. But I think...
Oh, I've remembered what I was going to say.
Go on.
I do think I want to let go of any expectations or pre-thought through ideas of what 2024 is going to look like. I want to go into 2024 with an open mind rather than thinking this is going to be like this and I know I'm going to find that hard and I know this is going to change and that's going to make things weird. And so anything that's kind of already in my mind about 2024, I want to let go of.
That's brilliant, mate.
And I don't know how to do that, but...
What, is there any expectations in your mind of what 2024 is going to be like?
I think in my head, if I'm being completely honest, I'm not really looking forward to 2024.
Yeah.
Like in my mind, I'm not going into it with hope and, oh my gosh, this could be the best year of my life. Yeah. I'm kind of like, I think there'll be quite a lot of things that make it hard, so it's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
So I don't think I'm going into it thinking, this year, 2024, is it? And again, in some ways, that's good as well, because I think sometimes you can go into a new year thinking, this is it, this is where my life changes.
Last year was awful, this year's going to be amazing.
So in that way, it's good, but I also think that...
Yeah, you've got no idea.
I don't know.
You've actually got no idea.
Exactly.
How it can pan out, what little unexpected joys can come along. You never know, do you? But you actually just don't know how it's going to look. So like you say, totally agree. Let go of it. And I was just saying to Soph earlier, I just think generally in life, when you have massive expectations for things, they're so rarely fulfilled. So it's like, and even in a negative way, if you've got negative expectations, like life just always pans out differently to how you thought it would look. So anyway, I want to let go of control, I think, just where I try and that's quite, again, a broad word, but I think just trying to control the future and pre-plan stuff and work things out and like already work out how I'm going to feel about certain things or how I'm going to find certain things. Like, I guess almost like you in that sense. Like, I feel like I've just concluded certain things that are going to happen in 2024 and how I'm going to find them. And it's like, no, like, I actually have no idea how I'm going to feel or how things are going to work or, how I'll find the things that I'm doing. So actually just going into it a bit more like I'm not even going to try and control these things, but instead I'm just going to ride the wave, man.
The wave of life.
The wave of life. They're kind of similar, I guess. Yeah. So then last question, what do you need to create space for?
That is a good question. I think this is my favourite question so far.
End on a banger.
I think that I want to make space for, like, to go deeper in friendship with people.
Nice.
And I think towards the back end of this year, just felt like it actually takes a lot of time and space to be able to go deep with someone, because there's so much to talk about in life. And, you know, you could be with someone even for 2 hours and you've still just only covered updates on life, you know, this has changed and all this happened, you know, the kind of the practicalities of what's been going on in people's day-to-days. And so actually to get past that and then go into the deeper conversation, it just takes time, doesn't it? And it takes longer amounts of time with people. It takes more frequent time with people. And so I think I want to make more space for that.
Yeah, I love that.
And more space, I think, to, like, get away with... Because I do think there is something about spending time with someone over a few days. Do you know what I mean? On, like, a trip or just, like, a weekend away, where actually... I think that's a perfect opportunity for those, like, deeper moments.
Quality
rather
time.
Than I've got, like, an hour after work to grab a drink.
That's beautiful. That's a good resolution, kind of.
What about you?
I was just thinking what I'm doing in 2024 with my time away is creating space. As in, I kind of feel like 2024 is going to be a year of... creating space for me.
Creating space for space.
Yeah. Like this has probably been 2024 will probably be the time in my life where I've most intentionally created space.
Yeah.
Because, like, whilst I'm away for 6 months, that is primarily with the aim of creating space.
Yes.
So I almost don't know how to answer the question. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like, how are you creating... Like, I am... doing that this year. So I guess I would just be more excited to see what happens as I create that space, you know? Like where you just take a bit of time out from everyday busy life. I'm just so excited for that. And yeah, I don't know. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Guys, hope you enjoyed this episode.
Yes, hope you...
It's wild that the next time we'll see you is next year.
I know. You know those jokes where it's like, oh, not showered since last year. Not been to the toilet since last year.
It's just such a dad joke.
Not brushed my hair since last year. Not eaten since last year. Oh, gosh. Yeah. Well, we'll see you next year, guys.
Guys, hope you enjoyed this episode, listening to our ramblings. We would love to know...
What are your New Year's resolutions?
What are your thoughts on 2023, 2024? What are your answers to those questions? They're quite big questions, we'll say.
Yeah, so maybe sit down, get a notebook out, get a cup of tea, get a friend round, chat through them.
Reflect together. It's quite wholesome, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so. So, yeah, let us know what your thoughts are on the year that has just gone and the year that is to come. And we will see you in 2024.
See you next year, guys.
Bye.
Ta-da.